So jealous. Whoever gets sent to Charleston next, I'm like hitching on the back. Hi, welcome back to Adventures from the Homefront. I'm Amanda. This is Jessica. We have Kate and Olivia, and we're here today to talk about our favorite duty stations.
Yeah. So I'll go first. So we've actually only been to two duty stations.
Okay.
So our first one was Charleston, South Carolina, and we were there for 2 years because my husband's a Navy nuke, and so the pipeline for schooling after boot camp is about 2 years, 1.5 to 2 years, depending on other circumstances. So that was our first duty station, and then now we've been stationed at Norfolk. That's our second one. And Charleston was definitely my favorite.
I'm so jealous. Whoever gets sent to Charleston next, I'm like hitching on the back.
Have an extra bedroom.
Yes.
Grandma suite or mother-in-law suite for Amanda. We're good.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. So it's actually the same. We've only been to two places, Charleston and here. Shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say.
What was your favorite one?
Definitely Charleston, I think.
Yeah.
So we were there for 4 years total. So we did the schooling because for nukes it's like 3 schools. And then my husband got staff pickup, which is like instructor down there. And then we moved here. But Charleston was definitely my favorite only because like it's our first place away from home.
Yeah.
Like,
So you got to make it home.
exactly.
Yeah.
But what about you?
So, very similar along the same lines. My husband's a nuke as well. So he did start in Charleston. Then he actually ended up moving up to Prototype in Boston Spa. And this is my first duty station here in Norfolk with him. So I got to visit Charleston and Boston Spa, and they were a lot of fun. Out of those two, I'd probably say, as much as I love Charleston, I spent more time in Boston Spa, and it was like nice up there. It was a little quainter. Like we had our little hobbit hole, and it was like a little getaway for me. But honestly, because this is the only place that I've really been, Norfolk has to be my favorite. And it's really awesome down here. I know you were talking before, like it's not as scary as people make it out to be. There are definitely nice parts that you could go and stay at. And we live in Chesapeake, and it's the best place in the world. I live in my little bubble with my Target and my Michaels, and
I'm so jealous.
love it.
We live in Suffolk, but we live in like towards the downtown portion area of it, so we have like nothing out there. It's like 20 minutes to Target.
I have 3 Starbucks, so. What about you? You are probably my favorite story out of all
Oh
of
my
us and all
gosh,
your
yes.
craziness.
So we've had a very crazy, since 2009, I have personally been to 5 locations. Got sent to Bahrain for a year in between that, but we've been to Duluth, Minnesota, we've been to Buffalo, New York, then to Bahrain. So after that, he got #1 pick, so we chose to go to Honolulu, Hawaii. From there, we got sent to Boston. We were only there for 1 year because we ranked up, and now we're here. So
You've just been all over the place.
I know. And before that, before I got together, his very first station was in San Diego, California. So he's really been like
Everywhere.
just everywhere. So we always try to pick someplace new. We have a lot of friends that try to move closer to family. We're kind of the opposite. We're like, we have the opportunity to see all these places. We always want to pick someplace different. In the beginning, I wasn't as excited to come to Norfolk, only for that reason. I like this area a lot, but we met here. I've lived here. I've done the Virginia thing. We were hoping to get, someplace new, but hey, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
So now we're very happy to be here. year. So,
But of all of them, which was your favorite?
ooh, that is like a loaded question. And for all different reasons. You know, Minnesota, I was not excited about going to because it was just one of the coldest places in the country. But it was my very first station, and the spousal support there was like amazing. Amazing. So I loved it for that. Hawaii was obviously gorgeous, but the traffic there is so terrible that, you know, Monday through Friday, it would take you an hour and a half to get to and from work, you know, every day. So that wasn't as enjoyable. But Boston, I really loved Boston. It is like such a cool city. I mean, you have like the cobblestone roads, and there's so much history there. You could be like at, what's that guy's house? I don't know, somebody from like Paul Revere. You can literally be at Paul Revere's house, and the next street over there's like a 3-story Walgreens. It's like just the way that they have like built the city around everything is just like really cool. So I would maybe say Boston, but there's just been so many great things about each place. I don't think that I regret any one of them.
Yeah.
So when we were in Buffalo, it was the year that we got married, and it just so happened my godmother and my cousin lives there, and you know, we got a little bit of extra family time there. But you know, every place has been really great. So
That's cool.
yeah.
What made you like, did you guys get a choice when you got orders, or did they just tell you? Like, what made you choose those places?
So I don't know how it is with the Navy. So the Coast Guard, you get to put like a dream sheet together, and they always tell you like, don't put something on it that you're not willing to go to. But it's like a double-edged sword, because if you don't put enough places, then you'll end up getting the scraps, because the detailer will finally come to you and say, hey, all those places are gone, pick between like these 2 places. So my husband and I have been pretty like on the same page about certain places. Like there's certain places we always wanted to go to. It was funny because when we took Hawaii, number 1, we actually wanted Charleston. But it was one of those things where we had an opportunity, like we didn't think that we'd ever get the opportunity to go to Hawaii again. And it worked out to be a blessing, because the boat that my husband would have been on in Charleston after a year got moved someplace else. So, but 1 week after we got orders to Hawaii, the detailer called my husband and offered us London.
I didn't even know that was like a base over there for the Coast Guard. Oh, cool.
Yes, I don't think it's either already disbanded or it's not going to be available much longer. I guess they were working with London's Navy over there for something, but that was tough. Like when he called me, I was like, I wanted to go. I told him, I was like, let's just go to London. And he was like, I'm down. Like, okay, great, we're going to London. Like, that's what we thought. And then that night I was thinking about it, and we had already been to Minnesota. Then we had been to Buffalo. It was one of those things where I kind of went back on it, because I was like, I just want to be by sunlight again. I want to be by the beach. Like, we've just had so much cold weather these last several years. Like, you know, they're both once in a lifetime opportunities.
Absolutely.
And so at the time we were thinking like, we'll just take London next time, because he had so much overseas time and, you know, all of that. Like, he would have been a good candidate to go there.
To get another opportunity.
But now it's too late. So we're a little bummed about that, but you never know. You never know. They might reopen it or, you know, bring it back. What about you guys?
So we got voluntold to go to Charleston, because that's just, it was right out of boot camp, and that's where A school was. And because it's anything longer than 6 months, I think spouses get to go accompanied. So because his school was at least 18 months, I think they allowed me to go move with him. So that was my favorite duty station, but we didn't get to choose it. It just kind of so happened that that's where we got to go. And then we did a dream sheet for when he went to sea duty, and we wanted San Diego, obviously, because that's where we're from. We just thought, you know, we have a family now, and it'd be nice to be near grandparents and stuff. And so it was, we wanted San Diego, and then Washington, and then I would have rather gone to Japan. And then Norfolk was like the very last one on our dream sheet, and that's what we got. But you know,
It was the exact same thing for us.
Yeah.
Like, we got told where we were going because it was right out of boot camp.
right.
And then we got the dream sheet afterwards, and we chose Norfolk solely for the purpose of, like, I was pregnant and family's here.
Yeah.
So I wanted that support system, especially, you know, if going to a different place that we don't know anyone,
Yeah.
don't have family around, and, you know, if he had to go out on a deployment, like, I have no one basically. Like,
Yeah.
So getting here was the number one, which we were very lucky.
Yeah.
So
That's
yes.
amazing.
What about you, Olivia?
So, unlike you guys, we did go up to Boston Spa. So, with the nuke schooling and prototype, basically if you volunteer to go up to Boston Spa, you're pretty much going. Like,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of, with the prototype down in Charleston, they do need people to kind of like delegate up to there. So, my husband's reason for volunteering was that Boston Spa is 4 hours from our hometown, where Charleston is 12. I drove 15 hours at times with traffic.
Yeah.
So it was so much closer for me, and I was planning on moving up there with him, with my education at the time. So I went to cosmetology school, and that was a 10-month program. It was 1,250 hours. A month following that, I started my educator's program, which is another 600 hours. So I was graduating the week before he was moving up there, and they offered me a position. So I was super excited to accept that. And my schedule worked out perfectly, so I could spend almost every weekend up in New York with him.
Great.
So amazing, like couldn't have worked out better. Would I have wanted to go live with him for a little bit before we got married? Yeah, it would have been nice, but my career was so important to me, and still
Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
So going into when he filled out his dream sheet, I just spent tens of thousands of dollars on my education. Like,
Yeah.
we're not going somewhere where I can't transfer my license. Like,
Yeah.
cosmetology is a state-to-state thing. Luckily, Virginia is amazing because it's such a huge military hub that if you're a military spouse, they give you a year of a license in order to transfer all your credits, get any
Oh, that's
schooling done that you
amazing.
do, take any practical exams. Pennsylvania doesn't do practical, so Virginia does. I have to take a practical exam. So always big advice when you're transferring any license. I know Michelle Obama was doing a lot, especially with like lawyers and different like board certifications, to be able to, for military spouses, to really transfer it easier. Always call your state board. Like,
Yeah.
that was the one thing I had no idea what my options were. Like, I thought I was all set. I would just like sign some paperwork, and it was like, no, it's a little harder than that. So I had done research prior to, and so every state we had reciprocity with, which wasn't San Diego, wasn't Connecticut, wasn't Hawaii. Like, a lot of the cool places we could have gone, I couldn't work. I would have to go back to school, or I'd have to find another job for 2 years, 4 years, and I am super passionate about what I do.
Yeah.
So again, I've mentioned it before, I was a little selfish. So he put like Virginia, metro license transfer.
But that's not being don't say it's being
It's not,
selfish.
but,
It's
like,
not, it's
not
smart.
Exactly. It was like my thing. Like, I was like, this is what I need.
Yeah.
If I'm following you for what you
Yeah.
need. So it was like kind of like our give or take, and
Yeah.
I love it. Like the salon I work at now, I've talked about it multiple times. It's my favorite place in the world to be. So I was so happy to come here, but we could have been anywhere else.
Yeah.
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 For sure.
Yeah. So is that how it works with A schools? So they just go in on their last day and they tell them where they're going, or
Nukes are different.
Yes.
They're a special breed.
Yes, they're very special. So with nukes, there's actually 3 schools. So you have A School, Power School, and Prototype. And they're all in the same place, either all in Charleston or all in Boston Spa. Or
No. Only Prototype is in Boston Spa.
Yeah, Prototype. So you do A School and Power School is all in Charleston, and then they separate them
That's right,
into 2 different
that's
schools for
right.
Prototypes. So either stay in Charleston or go to Boston Spa.
That's
But
right.
I've heard that that's not going to be the case very soon. Everything's going to be in Charleston. So there's not going to be 2
closing down
different locations.
Boston
Yeah.
See, I always get that confused because I'm like, I know it's 3 schools,
Yeah.
but I completely forgot that Boston Spa is only Prototype specific.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So,
Which is good because it's freezing up there.
just a little confusing though.
It's very confusing. Yes.
So I'm not sure if they still do it this way, but back when my husband was in A School, how you finished in your class was how you determined where you went. So they put out a list of everything that was open, because as you know, an electrician, he could pretty much go anywhere.
Yeah.
So he finished 4th in his class, so he got 4th pick.
Okay.
And it's funny how we got Duluth, Minnesota from that, because the first guy, the guy that got number 1, took number 1.
Okay.
He really wanted a boat out of Rhode Island. So then he was like, okay, well, I want Wilmington because Amanda's from that area. I know she'd love to move back. I'm going for Wilmington. And the number 2 guy took Wilmington, North Carolina. And finally he was like, you know what, you guys pick whatever you want. I'll take whatever's left over. And he got Minnesota.
Oh my God.
He was 4th on the list and got Duluth,
just was like,
Minnesota.
Whatever. Well,
Oh my
sometimes
God.
it's just whatever billet they have. Maybe they only have billets for Duluth, Minnesota at the time.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a
Yeah.
luck of the draw kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I know from my husband's graduating class, almost everybody went to Norfolk because that's just what they had at the
okay.
time.
See,
Yeah.
They had like maybe 1 or 2 for San Diego, maybe 1 or 2 for Washington, and then everything else was pretty much Norfolk.
My husband's graduating class went everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Like all of his friends, like San Diego, some went to Washington, some
Wow.
like there's like one person I think he graduated with. It was in Norfolk, and it wasn't somebody that he was close to anyway.
See, his graduating class, everyone kept like asking like, hey, you should go to Guam. And then a good portion of them did go, and they hate it.
Oh,
Because they're like, we were just
really?
stuck on
Because
an
I've heard a
island.
lot of people love Guam too, though. Because
I've
it's-
heard like mixed stories. Like
Okay.
some people love it, some people hate it, and it's because you're just stuck on an island. You can't exactly go anywhere.
Right.
So
Yeah.
So what is it about your duty station that whatever one was your favorite? What was it that made it special to you guys? Like,
I would have to say, as I was saying earlier, that I would say Minnesota and Hawaii, my favorite thing was the people. My husband, he was very fortunate to be put on 2 boats that the command and just, the spousal support there was just amazing. When we were in Hawaii, I lost my dad, and his boat, just the way that they stepped up and the way that they, really put our family first was just amazing. So I think those 2 locations would probably be my favorite, just because of that in
Community,
general.
yeah.
It's cool.
So
I mean, for me, it's just our first home together.
Yeah.
It's our first time, we get to buy our furniture and have, be together, and it's just the 2 of us. I think that's why it makes it really special for me.
yeah, absolutely.
I definitely agree with you there. Like just making your own home and just having that environment, and it's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
So we, so like I said, we had lived together before he joined and kind of went through that whole let's get our furniture, let's get our first place. So it wasn't our first home together, but I think what made it so special for us or for me particularly, was that house is where I brought my baby home for the first time.
I'm crying.
It's where we became parents, and all of my son's firsts happened in Charleston. Like his first Christmas, his first words, his first time walking, all of the first holidays, like trick-or-treating with him, and just that is something that I will never forget. Like, it's just that nostalgic feeling. Anytime that I think of Charleston, I think of like my baby, you know? So that's what, I don't know, it'll always just have a very special place in my heart.
Yeah. So now that we're all sappy, where was the best food? Because we all know I love my food.
Oh yeah.
For me, it was probably Charleston. All that, like, it's like the perfect mix between, like, you got your seafood, but you also got some of that barbecue going on there. Like, the food in Charleston, amazing.
I will have to agree with you there. They have a very wide variety of different foods. And like I said in one of the last videos, like our anniversary dinner, like we went to the same restaurant. So that, and gosh, man, can they... Whew, I'm just thinking about that coconut cake now. But it... Gosh, like that's just a special thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Charleston for sure had the best food. It was like that just real Southern traditional, like stick to your bones, good, like gravy and biscuits, and then all the seafood there was so fresh because it's just caught that day and like farm to table, kind of just amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really yummy.
Yeah, I would say, surprisingly, I would say either Buffalo, New York, or
I can see that.
Boston. I mean, Buffalo, I'm a wing girl. I love wings, and I have yet to find a wing that's as satisfying as the wings that I got up there. And like, they would have like fries and gravy. Oh my God. it's just like
my
so
husband
good.
and you would get along great.
Yes, so in Boston was just like full of like lobster rolls and you know, just so much good stuff. A lot of people I think would say like Hawaii, because they had so much different food. Like they have like a lot of Asian food and stuff like that. I definitely...
Did you learn to like Spam?
No. I'm not a Spam girl, but I had so much like ahi tuna. Like I love like ahi, and it's everywhere there. So, but I think that I would say either Buffalo or Boston over Hawaii. So yeah.
So none of us said Norfolk
No.
for food.
No.
How did you guys feel when you guys first got orders to Norfolk? Like, were you excited? Were you nervous? Were you disappointed?
So ours was weird. So we had to wait so long to get his orders, like a month and a half before everybody in his class basically had already had his orders. So we were just waiting to get an order, and I was like, I just want to know where we're going. Like, we're supposed to be moving in a month. Like, I need to know where we're going to be moving to. So we got Norfolk, and I was just excited to get the orders. I was happy it was decently close to my home, and there's a huge military, like, families down here. Like, you have a lot of support systems. So it was, like, nice to go for our first station because we have that extra little bit of support here.
Yeah.
I was very lucky because this was our first pick because of family. But I'm a little, I feel like I loved living in Charleston more because we had our own house that we built. So, and then now where we're living, it's very small, it barely fits our furniture, which, you know, I'm just thankful that we have a roof over our head. You know, that's the biggest thing. But having to adjust, like, you know, we had this lovely arrangement in our home, and then like squishing it all in. How do you do that? So I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah. Well, we had like such a hectic, you know, we were supposed to be in Boston for 4 years. My husband ranked up, and they kind of told us we were either going to be leaving that year or we were definitely leaving the following year. So it was kind of up to us. Well, I wasn't crazy about our home at the time. It just wasn't very baby friendly, and we were kind of living in limbo there because we got told a month after we moved in. So we really didn't even unpack everything at our home in Boston. So my point of view was, let's just go. Like, I don't want to live in another year of limbo. Let's just go somewhere and get settled. So my husband reached out to the detailer, asked him, if we were going to be moving based off of our Hawaii billet instead of Boston, because he was on a boat there versus land, so we would get a better pick. Detailer told him off of Hawaii, which we would have been a second priority. So Christmas comes and goes, and we still had no orders, which is a warning sign. So I told my husband to reach out to the detailer, and the detailer was like, "Who are you?"
Oh. Uh-oh.
So we went from second priority to, if there was a sixth priority, that's where we would have been labeled. So we were a little disappointed that, we couldn't get set someplace different just because we've already lived in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess if we could do it all over again, we'd pick someplace else. But we're good with the area. At least, there's a lot to do here. Could have been, God knows. Could have been some, small place that, doesn't have anything to do.
Right.
So we're okay with it. So, what about you?
So Norfolk was our last choice, and it was our last choice because we're from the West Coast. We don't know anything about the East Coast. We didn't know much about Norfolk. And when I would do research online on a lot of the wives pages, I would hear I would ask about base housing, and there'd be like, oh, that's in a bad neighborhood, or that's in a bad neighborhood. And it just seemed like there was a lot of crime in Norfolk, which, I mean, it's a big city, so there's going to be pockets of areas that are good and pockets of areas that are bad, but just not ever having been here and seeing that, I was really nervous. I was like, great, you're going to be gone all the time, and I'm going to be home alone, and I'm going to be not safe. Your mind imagines the worst. So I was really nervous, and I thought it was going to be horrible, and it's not the case at all. If you have orders to Norfolk, it's not the end of the world. It's actually a really great place to live, especially if you're a military family, just because it's such a large military community out here, and there's so many resources for you, and there's so many things geared towards military families, lots of discounts to all of the attractions over here, and so, not so bad.
Yeah. We originally got told that we were going to Yorktown, which is an entirely different environment. I was like, yeah, Williamsburg, and then our orders came in and they were Norfolk, and I was like, oh, it's, pretty much the same thing. I was like, it is not the same thing. I am mad. But it all worked out. Because now I met you, lovely lady.
Yeah.
So...
Were there any places I know when we were looking into getting our orders and where we could go and the dream list, I was like, I don't want to go to Guam and I don't want to go to Japan. I was so scared to go overseas because I had never been to a duty station before. I had never lived anywhere from a little small town in PA, and I was like, I am not going to a place where they speak a different language, and I was so mortified that we would get stationed there, and he was like, it's fine, you have to volunteer to go to those places, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna do the one. It's gonna be the exception here. Right. So, I don't know. Do you guys have any of your petrified places?
Japan was one of them.
Yes.
So we had 4 options: Japan, Norfolk, San Diego, and Washington. I only wanted Norfolk. So I was like, I don't want Japan because I don't want to be out of the country. Only because you have to go through a whole nother process just to do that. And Washington, I didn't want to be cold. And then, so if we couldn't get Norfolk, it would have been San Diego. Just because of the weather. And I've never been that far away before. So, that would have been pretty cool. But definitely Japan and Washington. So, what about you, Amanda?
I don't know. I always used to say please, dear God, send me anywhere, just don't send me to Alaska. But now it's like, the idea is kind of growing on me.
I think that would be kind of fun to go.
Yeah, very fun. I think the only place I wouldn't want to go is Puerto Rico.
Okay.
I don't know. I have a friend that used to be stationed in Puerto Rico and got some feedback from there, and I think I'm good. Don't send me to Puerto Rico. Any detailers out there, don't send me to Puerto Rico.
And so, just like Kate, my husband's on a carrier. So for a nuke on a carrier, you can only go to 4 places: San Diego, Washington, Japan, or Norfolk. And I thought I didn't want to go to Norfolk, but I like it now. So I guess I maybe would pick not wanting to go to Japan because it's just so much further away from family.
Yeah.
But it would be fun too. I don't know.
Yeah, you never know. I mean,
Yeah.
some of those places, you know, up in Minnesota, we had a friend that this is why they tell you don't put anything on the list unless if you're not willing to go to it. It was his very last pick. I think it was like his 28th pick or something like that. And he had a very good priority. So he had a really good chance of getting like his top 4. Well, he was the only person in his rate to put Minnesota on the list. So the detailer was like, okay, you'll go.
No.
He got sent there, and he was so bummed because he's from Florida. So, you know, the warm weather. Ended up meeting his now wife, and they have a baby girl and
That's so
everything.
special.
You know, he made such great friends up there, and you know, it turned out, I think, you know, I don't know, I can't for sure speak for him, but I'm pretty sure he could say that that was probably one of his favorite stations. So
See, you never know.
you never know.
You never know. Okay, guys, thanks for watching this episode. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and go ahead and hit that notification bell so that you can be updated when we make new videos. We post twice a week, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.